Welcome back to the Raleigh Oaks Baseball Club here on OOTP 25. We are picking things up here in the offseason after winning back-to-back World Series here with the Raleigh Oaks, 2043 and 2044 back-to-back. This is the team. Once again, Robert Pollard, general manager. A lot of returning faces from last year's team. There weren't really too many new faces on this year's team, but still, we get the job done. You take a look at the team history here, the franchise history, you can see it all on one. You don't have to scroll. That's how young this franchise is. First year, 2030, you lose 117 games. We took over in 2040. That was our first season. Instantly has the best season of the franchise. 96, 98, 99, 108, 112. I didn't realize even that we've actually gone up in wins every single season. Gonna be a tough task to go up in wins this season in 2045 upcoming because we have some guys who are going to be entering free agency, some guys we're going to have to move on from because they're more expensive, and we're just really not going to have the payroll to be able to, or like the budget to be able to pay everybody we want to. So we're going to have to try to trade some guys like a Lehar possibly and stuff like that. Dudes who, they're not like key pieces, but it's definitely going to hurt to not have just like Lehar just on your bench whenever an infielder gets hurt. Now, one thing I should mention is that I do not know exactly when this series is going to end, but it's definitely starting to come down to the end here. I'm recording this, it's a couple days away from Christmas, and it's just not baseball season, obviously. I do tend to lose interest in games when they're out of season. Sometimes that's the case. Baseball is definitely the case for me. Once spring training starts ramping up, it's like late February and like college baseball's starting off and, we're starting to get spring training stuff getting ramped up. Then it'll be like, okay, I'm back in baseball mode here, but right now, not really in baseball mode. I do still obviously enjoy OTP. It's just, it's a seasonal game for me. Now, one thing that you should not be worried about is that I'm just going to disappear and not post until the next OTP, because obviously, even when I do stop posting this particular series, I'm still going to be here posting the FM videos with Grenoble, still going to be posting the occasional Fellows video. We've been playing a lot of FIFA, or FC rather. I'm sure people still call it FIFA. We've been dipping our toes back into Fortnite, but I don't really want to make Fortnite content, mainly because the way we like to play Fortnite is just basically riding around in a G-Wagon and ramming people while like the Sweater song by Weezer is playing and then getting out and like emoting with like the Apple dance or something. And obviously that's just not something I can post on YouTube because it'll be like, hey, your channel is deleted now because you used 8 million different copyrighted things in one video. But there are some other stuff we could possibly mix in there with Fellows, but right now it is mainly FC25 Pro Clubs. And I will say that when I do decide to end this series, I'll probably do something where I sim like 10 years into the future and then see how like everybody's career plays out. And then like the final Oaks episode will be me going over like all the dudes we still have connections to in the Angels organization and like all the dudes we have connections to here at the Oaks, obviously, and just seeing where things stand. And then we would probably end it and then just, scrap OTP until the next one comes out. But now that whole tangent is over, it is now time to dive into the offseason and prepare to possibly try to three-peat here in 2045. You can see here that Rocky Gusty has indeed executed his option in the last year of his contract. We were expecting that. Well, maybe I wasn't expecting that, honestly. I thought it could go either way because he was dropping a decent amount, but it wasn't too much. He's still a productive player. Hopefully he's not going to get hurt this year, but he is indeed somebody who will be on our roster here for the final year of his contract in 2045. So that's $26.5 million that is on our books this year that we will have to figure out. We have a new budget, $278 million. Team payroll of $220 million. Obviously, our contract is extended. Some minor league managers need to be signed. Right now, we have the fifth highest player payroll projected, $216.25 million. Definitely higher than we would want because right now our total expense is actually more than our budget. I would imagine that's because of our like player dev and whatnot, which we obviously can dock down. I'm going to not mess with this right now. Also, our scouting is usually high. Yes, yes. I'm not going to mess with that right now, but we do have the ability to lower that to open up some more money and whatnot, as well as deciding, like, guys we're going to trade and whatnot, like guys who are eligible for arbitration. Like, just taking a look at this page right here, Juan Nazario at $11.8 million, and he's wrecked. I don't think he's going to be a part of next year's team. We are going to try to trade him to some sorry sucker who wants a wrecked pitcher. These AI teams employ wrecked players literally all the time. So I do not care that he's wrecked, and it's not real. I don't care. We're trading him for whatever we can get. Tim Bayer, probably someone who's not coming back. $3.4 million. That's like right on the edge of, like, do I want to bring back this guy for 3.4 million? Probably not. We'll have to he'll be like on the back end of, like, if we decide to keep or not. He's like on right on the edge, but maybe not. Montalvo here, probably not somebody we're bringing back. We had him as a waiver claim. He's also estimated to make $3 million, so we're offering him less. So yeah, that's definitely not going to bring him back. Josephat, he's down to a 35 stamina. He was good for us this year. We traded for him. Probably trying to bring him back for at least one more season because he is a starter for us. Probably, yeah. Sincamani, we have to figure out what to do with him now. He's jumping up from league minimum into the 4.6 million because we've never extended him long term. Just, we have so many guys on this team that you can't have everybody. Juan Trujillo ended the year in AAA. He's probably cheap enough to bring back. He's still a productive enough reliever for us. Santiago Tapia jumping from 2.9 to 7.8 million in arbitration estimated. He is one of the guys that I've been talking about we might want to trade for quite a while now, just because you look at his ratings on paper and you're like, why is this guy so good? He puts up these ridiculous WRC pluses. Like, I mean, look at these, like, the numbers every year are just ridiculous. Like, this year he had the best year of his career. He had a 6 WAR. He's constantly got like a 900-ish OPS. He's constantly stealing a bunch of bases while doing these power and double numbers. And you look at these ratings, and you're like, how? How is he doing this? Like, the stolen bases make sense, but it's really just all power, and then everything else is average or below average, and he just, I don't know, he just performs. And, like, OSA, it's not like OSA thinks that he's way better and our scat just doesn't, like, undervalue him or something. It's not that. He just outperforms his ratings. His fielding stats also was the best of his career this year. He just randomly figured things out and put up a 12 ZR. So he's somebody we might try to possibly trade. Will Caffin, our Aussie shortstop, 2.8, that's fine. We'll be paying that to him. Mike Rubin, as a guy who is just a utility guy at this point, we might be looking to try to trade, especially at $7.5 million in arbitration. Or that's Cooperman. But Cooperman definitely as well. So Rubin, probably going to be looking to trade him at $4.8 million. I'm probably not looking to spend that money on him. Cooperman, same sort of thing, $7.5 million for a wrecked all-glove center fielder at this point. Definitely going to be trying to trade him to whoever is going to take him. And then we have the big one here. We have these three guys. Zion, who we traded at the deadline, or we traded for the deadline. Eric Lucy, who's been a good member of our bullpen in back-to-back seasons. We're not going to give him a QO, obviously. Luis Morera, our backup catcher, is not going to get a QO, but Wilson Morales will be getting QO'd. Unfortunately, we are not in a position to be giving him a crazy extension at age 29. We literally can't offer him that. We would have to trade people to get this done. Now, maybe once we trade people, once we mess with the budget and everything, like the player dev and the scouting, maybe then we might be able to re-sign him. I might possibly look to do that, not something like 8 years. I would probably be looking like something like this, perhaps, maybe even 7. But there is a very real possibility that Wilson Morales is not pitching in a Raleigh Oaks uniform next season, and we will have to plan accordingly for that. But we are going to QO him, so if he does not accept that, he will just be... I would imagine that he definitely does not accept it, and he just goes to free agency. We get a draft pick for that. But maybe we get him in free agency if we don't manage to re-sign him here before free agency opens. And then we have Kamari Senegal, Shotgun Senegal, and Steve Connell, both acquisitions from the Marlins this past trade deadline. They are both pending free agents as well. The only one that would even have any remote interest in bringing back would be Shotgun Senegal, but he is also quite expensive and we cannot afford that right now. So just a quick little run through of what we expect based on guys we currently have on the 40-man to have what our roster is looking like this year. As far as the pitching goes, it's going to be some combination of these 4 guys: Mendoza, Cinquemani, Jake Graham, and Chad Josephat. Jake Graham coming off a torn labrum. He might miss the first little bit of the season, but he will be back at some point. Hopefully he's not too diminished in what will be the last year guaranteed for him on the roster. And then as far as the bullpen guys that we have in the mix, obviously Carmona is our horse. He is the guy we have at the back end of the bullpen with the 80 grade stuff, the 80 grade fastball, curveball, dual pitch action he's got going there. Insane reliever. And then like the next tier is Kurt Holmes. We have Jameer Clyte, who I am thinking about possibly throwing in the dev lab to try to get his stamina up. Now, I noticed that Jameer Clyte was a second-round pick, and I'm like, I know myself. I don't take guys with 30 stamina in the second round. So I'm taking a look at his scouting history here, and you can see his stamina dropped like immediately after being taken. We took him in... Again, no, this was before. So I think he was like a 35 stamina starter. We took him in 2041. 35 stamina. It goes up to 40. And then 2041, it goes back down to 35. And then in June 2041 is when we took him. So, like, after this happened was when we took him. So his stamina went down to 35, still starter capable, but his stuff went up, his velocity went up. I guess I probably should have seen this and thought that maybe he was like a reliever when I saw that his velocity went up but his stamina went down. But, you know, you live and you learn. And then, you know, he's developed quite well. But then also, like, he had another stamina dropped to 30 right here in 2043 last August. So it's been a lot of pluses since then. The stamina has dropped a ton in his career. But I think with his outlook, I mean, he's projected to have 4 really, really good pitches if these keep developing. He already has 2 really, really good pitches and then 2 like average and above average ones. And then this stuff as well. If this all just keeps developing, he could be a starter option for us. So I'm thinking that we want to put him in the dev lab this offseason here for working on that stamina to try to make him a bit more starter capable here. And he does have that work ethic intelligence. So I'm hoping that helps us in the dev lab. But, you know, if he ends up just being like a stud reliever for us, I'm totally fine with that as well. And then this next tier of relievers are guys who could be on the team or guys who could be like back end, like not back end as in like best guys, but back end as in like they're like mop up sort of like just inning eater sort of reliever guys or AAA pitchers who go up and down. As Trujillo, who has an option. We have Tariq bin Abdud, who is no longer, he's out of options. So he might be a guy who's probably like starting the year on the team if he makes the team, if we don't trade him. Banazal is an option to be one of those sort of guys. He still has multiple options on his team control here, coming off a really, really good season in the AAA bullpen, or the AAA rotation rather. Tanioka is a player who was really good for us, or not really good, but he was solid for us in the big leagues this season. He also has multiple options. Luis Lozano, we just like his stuff. I mean, you can't look at this stuff and be like, this guy, we want to get rid of him. Obviously, he doesn't know where the hell it's going. Obviously, he's going to have home run issues, but he has 80 stuff. 80 grade fastball, a potentially 80 grade cutter, current 75, 70 grade sinker, and a 75 grade curveball with a 55 grade changeup to mix in. He's going to strike people out. He's going to walk people. He's going to give up home runs. Hopefully we can limit the home runs a little bit, but this stuff is just too good not to keep believing in this guy. He also still has an option, so he's going to be on the team next year as well. And then we have like Bob Durham as like that next tier, even past those guys. Like he's definitely like a mop-up sort of guy, but he's even more so like a guy who doesn't have great stuff, and like he's just kind of very mediocre across the board, and he's a leader. So he's really good in AAA. Maybe he's one of these guys that outperforms his ratings, but he's definitely not somebody we're looking to be like a serious part of our team, but he definitely could provide some depth to the bullpen as well as having an option left on his contract. Whereas Nazario, like I said, we're trying to trade. Morales may or may not be back. Obviously, if he comes back, all these guys move down a tier. Tim Bayer is like on that teetering edge of maybe not being back. He would obviously slip into somewhere in this tier of guys. Senegal, I doubt we're bringing him back. Same with Zion, and then Lucy as well is out of option years, and he is projected to get. Oh no, he's not projected to get anything. He's just a pending free agent. Never mind. Yeah, so he's also somebody we are not going to be bringing back. So yeah, all these guys, and then it's just maybe Bayer, and then maybe on Morales, but the rest of these guys will not be back. Nazario might be able to net us like a huge haul of like dudes to bring in and refill this pen and possibly rotation, but I do have an idea for this fifth starter role, but obviously nothing ever goes exactly to plan, so you do need more than 5 starters as part of your plan. But if everything goes according to plan and everything goes perfectly, this fifth starter spot this season is going to be Othaniel Broadhead. That is the plan. The plan is for this guy to be our fifth starter and DH. We want to utilize both skills. He has them. We are trying to make that happen. He is not Rule 5 eligible, so we don't have to force him this year, but I think he's ready. I think we're going to throw him in the bullpen, or throw him in the rotation. Maybe he's an opener, maybe not. We're going to put him in that DH spot, and we're just going to see what happens with Othaniel Broadhead here, and hopefully he's sick as hell. And then if you can take a look at his ratings here, if I switch to center field, I mean, he's definitely got the type of bat, he doesn't have the great power. He's got a decent eye, but he has the gap power. He's got the BABIP. He's got the high contact. He's even got the really good speed. He can even bunt for hits. He can sack hits. He's probably going to be our 9-hitter and our 5th starter, but we'll see what happens with him. That is the plan, is for him to be that as we switch over to the lineups here. And this is, what we think is going to be looking like. So he's going to slot in this DH spot. He'll be this 9-hitter here, and we'll have some sort of Langarisa at second, Rodriguez in left, Griego in right, Ramirez at first, Amancio catching, Gusty at third, Caffin at short, and Pineda in center. Langarisa playing the field now because he did get that dev boost last season to get a bit more better at second base. He's a 60-grade second baseman now. I just want to, play this guy at second base, make him more valuable rather than just being a DH, because I do think he's capable of not just being a DH, and plus we also want to open up that spot for Broadhead. And then on the bench, we obviously have guys like Vince Yates, who, if the Broadhead experiment at DH, like if he's pitching really well but he's not hitting, this guy is going to be slotting in somewhere, whether it's DH or moving somebody else to DH and he plays the outfield. This guy is definitely somebody we want to be very heavily involved in our team this upcoming season. Chris Henniger might make the roster. He does have no options, but he's going to be making league minimum. He's still a valuable player. He might squeeze his way onto the roster at some point. And then we also have Jaquan Eggerson, who's the big power eye, gap power, BABIP guy with a strong arm in right field. And then our shortstop situation is going to be some combination of Will Caffin and Alvaro Vizcaíno again. We also have Eric Alehar, who's going to be like that backup infielder. And then we'll be doing something where like Alehar will be like mixing in at all 3 of these positions quite consistently, just to keep guys fresh. It's going to tear into guys' numbers, obviously. We're not going to have like guys win MVP sort of numbers because we have Alehar just eating into these guys' playing times a bit. But we're trying to keep guys fresh for the postseason. We're trying to have a well-rounded team and make runs. We're not trying to win MVP awards here. And then, of course, I'm also forgetting about Nesty Rojas, who has multiple years of team control, and I'm thinking that we might just be having to bite the bullet on this guy. That is what I'm thinking, is that we just kind of have to just say, hey, man, it's not working out. You're just, it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. That's that. Nesty Rojas was good for a bit, but I really just don't think it's going to work out. And also, we don't really have room for him because we have this three-headed monster at the outfield. We have Vince Yates, we have Eggerson, we even like Henniger. I mean, he's basically the same sort of player as Henniger now. Nesty Rojas is. Like, this is very replaceable, and we're paying him a lot of money for the next 3 seasons. So I think we're just going to have to bite the bullet. We're going to pay it anyways because nobody's going to trade for him. Like, I'll just to prove that nobody wants. Oh, he has a no trade clause. What am I saying? He has a no trade clause. That's why we can't trade him. He's not willing to waive it. So we're just going to cut him. $95 million spread out over 4 years. Nesty Rojas, that's what we think of you. The fan interest decreases a lot. It's whatever. We just won back-to-back World Series. If that is really what is going to... if that's really what's going to stop you from being a Raleigh Oaks fan, good riddance. And we have gone ahead and added our 8 players to the player development lab here for this offseason, the first round of dudes. First, like I said, Jameer Clyte. We are trying to move up his endurance, his stamina, trying to get up this into the starter range, possibly give us another starting pitching option, or even just more effective stopper if, the broadhead situation works as the 5th starter. Will Caffin, we are adding for generate bat speed. I believe we tried this last offseason as well, but we are trying it once again because he has the potential there. We're trying to tap into that, make him a better player, get a Juan Padilla-type boost. That would be fantastic. How about Vince Yates? Tap into this power as well. Is it a bit overkill? Maybe, but he has 75 potential, only 65 current. Let's get that up in the 70s, baby. And then Woody Broadhead, we're throwing him in for increasing pitch movement. We want to try to lean into him being this ground ball pitcher with really good control. He does have decent stuff, but he has some really good potential here with the movement. So if we can tap into that and make him just be an absolute monster with limiting home runs and just working the ground balls while also having some decent stuff and strikeout potential, that would be fantastic. And then Juan Brick Canis, who is currently in AAA for us. This is another guy I forgot to mention that we have in AAA. He is currently the number 100 exactly prospect in baseball, former 4th round pick for us. This guy is also going to mix into our team this season at some points. You can see last year he spent the year split between AA and AAA, was solid at both levels. And now he's going to come up at some point this year. I believe he is Rule 5 eligible, so he will be a part of our bullpen probably. He could also start for us. We are trying to improve his pitch arsenal, so either improve this slider or improve this splitter, essentially, is what I'm thinking it's going to do. Maybe get a stuff boost with it if it improves those pitches. Who knows? But Juan Canis, almost 22-year-old, interesting arm to add to the mix of young arms in this organization. And then I also forgot to mention Dorian Hensley. This is somebody we picked up on a minor league contract last season in the offseason. He was really good in AAA for us. I thought about calling him up multiple different times, but it just never really happened. But he might be somebody who we look at this season, especially since Chris Henniger is out of options. This guy is a very versatile outfielder, can play all 3 outfield positions. He's a very, very good base runner. He's got 80 grade sack bunts, which is interesting, and he's not too shabby of a hitter. So we are trying to actually tap into this eye, utilize some of this stealing ability, or stealing aggressiveness and base running, as well as just, some of this slap hitter sort of high eye, if we can get this up. Capability, make him that much better of a player to add to our team. And then the last 2 are other 2 relievers that we have that could play a role for our team this season. They both have some developing to do, but I think it's worth putting them both in the lab here, both trying to increase pitch movement, as Mike Eberth here already has the stuff down. He's already got nasty, nasty stuff. They're super hard. Spent last year between rookie ball and A ball. We're putting him in AA to start this season. At some point, he might end up on the big league team, especially if he can tap into this. I already love this stuff, like I said. If we can get this movement up to where he's not a liability, please. That would make another nasty reliever that we have in the bullpen as a late-round pick who developed. And then there is Meweldy Mullins, another late-round pick who is looking like he's developing. He's a bit more on track with the movement here. We'd like to see this stuff get tapped into as well. Slider-sinker guy. Holds runners as a lefty. We are trying to improve this movement for him as well. Tap into this home runs allowed, please. And those are the 8 guys that we are rolling with here as we embark on the 2044 into 2045 offseason. Bada bing, bada boom. We're here. It is the league news section. The awards have been given out, as you can see here in the National League. The MVP was Mike Costanza, Mike, not George Costanza, of the Cincinnati Reds. Absolutely insane player. Puts up a 7 WAR, 178 WRC plus, 37 home runs, leads the league in average OBP slugging, OPS on top of WAR, WRC plus, and home runs. Pretty deserved MVP candidate for Mike Costanza here. Avina from the Cubs and Luis Rodriguez finishes 3rd, Griego in 4th. Tapia got votes. Amancio got votes. Even Cinquemani got some votes. In the American League, the MVP was Jorge Ohtani of the New York Yankees. He is their catcher, put up a 5 WAR, 39 home runs with a 591 league-leading slugging percentage. Then when we take a look at the National League Cy Young, Cinquemani finishes 2nd behind the best pitcher in the league in Kadeem McKelton. I mean, if you're going to finish behind somebody, Kadeem McKelton is definitely the guy to be doing it. This guy is he's just the ideal pitcher in every single category. He's got insane stuff. He's got great movement. He limits home runs. He does not walk people. He's got 3 elite pitches. He's a captain. Literally the only thing you could nitpick is that he has 35 stamina, but he still puts up like close to 200 innings every single season, if not 200 the year before that. So Kadeem McKelton, pretty insane player. And then you may also notice that Santiago Mendoza and Luis Carmona both got Cy Young votes, as well as Wilson Morales here. He had 1 single point. The American League Cy Young winner was Luis Linares, a guy we are very familiar with. He is a veteran pitcher at this point. Been with the Mets and the Astros, has just been dominant for many, many years. Is a 9 WAR his best season? Yes, it is. A 9 WAR season is definitely Cy Young quality. Behind him was Kurt House, who put up a 5.9 WAR. He had an 8 WAR season in 2042, which what I'd imagine was when he won the Cy Young. And then the NL's Manager of the Year was Vladimir De La Sosa, our manager we hired, and ever since then we have just been dominating. We've won back-to-back World Series with him. He has now won back-to-back Manager of the Year awards as well for both of those World Series winning seasons. We're just hoping that hopefully he does not start redding us out in some of these categories, because that would be terrible. And then we had a ton of guys getting Silver Sluggers this year as well. Juan Amancio beats out Jimmy O'Leary. Take that, you goddamn catcher. And then we had a bunch of Silver Sluggers on the roster this year. Juan Amancio actually beat out Jimmy O'Leary for the catcher Silver Slugger. We also had Luis Rodriguez getting his first Silver Slugger. Yes, indeed, his first Silver Slugger in left field. And then also in right field, Luis Griego, with his 6 WAR season, 32 home runs, 32 swipe bags, gets the right fielder spot. And then also the National League Reliever of the Year. Who else but Luis Carmona? I mean, genuinely, who else could you give it to? The guy is incredible. He puts up 100-plus innings in the bullpen back-to-back seasons. I mean, he had a better year when it came to ERA and FIP this year, but he gave us more innings last season. I mean, he struck out 42.5% of his batters, walked less than 10. The walks were even up from last year, which was a 5.7. He had a 33.2 K- walk. Generational stuff. Holy shit. AL Reliever of the Year, Vince Garza, at the prime age of 37 years old. This guy, what a story. A 5.01 ERA plus gets him Reliever of the Year in 64 1/3 innings at age 37. If you don't remember, Vince Garza was the guy who was the absolute shutdown closer for the Oakland A's when we were playing with the Angels, and we were running into him in the playoffs like every single season. When they were going through that dominant run, he was their closer. You can see here he's a 4-time MLB champion, all with the Oakland A's, I believe. Most recent was 2038 and 2042. Okay, no, he's also won with Houston, and he also won with LA. That's right. He was with the Angels in 2042. But if you remember, he went to Atlanta for a season this year, 2037, his age 30 season. He's fresh off this run with the Oakland A's. Then he's kind of like a journeyman for a couple seasons, goes to Atlanta, and puts up a 155 innings pitched year with a -2 WAR and -6.9 R WAR. He had 26 meltdowns. He had a -3 win probability added, a 377 BABIP. He was giving up home runs, walking 11.4%. It was just a year from hell. And he kind of struggled for a couple of years, but then he's bounced back ever since then. He had a bad year. And just stop going to Atlanta, man. Just stop going to Atlanta. This was not your year in Cleveland either, but then he goes to Boston. And then this year, he's in San Diego, back out west, and he's just figured it out again. I think that the moral of the story here is that he should constantly only play for teams that play out west. That's just, it makes sense to me. The man from San Antonio here, incredible career. Glad to see he was able to come back and win Reliever of the Year after, literally like almost a decade after this disastrous Atlanta season in 2037. And then we also had quite a few Gold Glove winners as well. Wilson Morales picks up the Pitcher Gold Glove Award. That is his second in back-to-back seasons. The first base Gold Glove was Juan Ramirez. That is now his third Gold Glove. And then we also had Eric Olehar picking up a Gold Glove. That was his first of his career. That was it. Those are the only guys, but we should also mention that David Magdaleno, the former Oak farmhand who he traded to the Brewers and then had a huge bump to his development in defensively. Now, probably the best defensive catcher in the league, putting up really good, really horrible hitting seasons, but he's constantly leading the league in like framing runs and that sort of thing, and running and throwing out base runners because he's just generationally gifted defensively, but he can't hit worth a shit. All right, folks, it's February 1st, spring training's coming up, and we have also gone through and signed our class of 2045 international free agents. We brought in 6 players this year, 2 Australian pitchers. They are the best of the bunch, too, according to potential. So Tai-Sung Wong, a right-handed reliever out of Australia. Looks like he could be pretty nasty if all this stuff develops. He has some really good personality to go along with it, plus some loyalty. Cody Stranahan, 17-year-old left-hander, also out of Australia. Looks like he could be pretty decent if he develops, and he also has a bunch of good personality, high loyalty, adaptability, work ethic, low greed, low financial ambition, but he also has low intelligence, so that's not great. Luis Segovia is a switch-hitting second baseman, probably more so a first baseman. Looks like he could have some decent power, gap power, eye sort of bat, very far away, obviously. Andres Agront is it sounds French, but he's Dominican. Switch-hitting infielder, looks like he could have a decent bat, well-rounded player. Brendan Berjak, another Australian, an outfielder this time, though a position player, 17 years old, well-rounded bat, decent speed profile, can even bunt, he can sacrifice bunt very well. More of a corner guy, though. We'll just immediately go, hey, you're a left fielder. And then Rogelio Blanco is a right-handed reliever out of Venezuela, and he had decent personality class, and we signed him for like very, very minimal, so he was just the guy to add on to the class. And that was the 2045 international free agents. Welcome back. We have gotten through the offseason. It is the 2045 opening day here on April 3rd. We kick off the season against Detroit, but obviously before we do that, we're going to go over everything that happened here in this offseason. So, we were not very active in free agency this year, but we actually did manage to bring back a lot of guys who we thought we were going to be parting with, and also extending some guys and just opening up some money to have some stuff. It's very tight right now, but we have some guys who are at the top end coming off the books here in a couple seasons. And, we were able to squeeze in the extensions that we wanted to do. So, first things first, we made a couple trades to open up some money with arbitration and whatnot like that. So we traded Yaikel Cooperman and a minor league catcher who looks like he might actually be playing a decent amount for the Texas Rangers here. We traded him and Yaikel Cooperman, who I would imagine is probably their starting center fielder, for a couple interesting relievers. Luis Flores is an 80 grade stuff, 80 grade fastball, 75 grade sinker, and knuckle curve with a 60 grade changeup. He's extreme fly ball, which we don't love, but he's got some crazy stuff, crazy arm talent. He's a part of our team, and he has options as well, at least for this season. Dusty Powell is a 23-year-old right-hander who we picked up in this trade as well. Not a guy who can go multi-innings, but, has some good ratings, good decent control, movement, really good stuff, fastball circle change mix. He's a part of the team. Then the other trade we did was Juan Nazario to the Boston Red Sox. So we'll be keeping tabs on him, but I'm thinking that his career is pretty cooked at this point, considering he is wrecked and just has not been able to put together a lot of full seasons for us. So Nazario going to be with Boston this season. And in return, we actually got a really good starting pitcher in Josh Dickerson. They just straight up offered this guy. I threw in some extra pieces as well, but this was the main piece in the deal. Josh Dickerson, he has spent the last 2 years in the Red Sox rotation, putting up a 3 WAR in back-to-back seasons. Never really doing too great. He does have some decent FIP numbers, but overall, solid guy to add to the mix here with a very, very good pitching staff here in Raleigh. Then we also added on Juan Orozco, who is a very interesting reliever type arm who can give you some innings in the rotation if you really needed to, but this control is just going to keep him to a bullpen arm for me. Once again, really good stuff, decent enough movement, fastball splitter combo for him, good personality type. He is actually in the big league roster here to start the season. And then we also picked up Jorge Murillo, a Colombian right-hander who is another guy who can give you some starting potential, who mainly looked at as reliever, though. Decent stuff. Could be interesting. He also has all 3 years. And then once we opened up all that money, we were able to go and re-sign a couple guys. We did end up bringing back Santiago Tapia. He is our second baseman once again. We signed him to a 2-year deal. This was literally the exact amount of money for the rest of his team control. He has 2 more years of team control through arbitration, so we just bought out the last 2 years. And he'll be on the team here, and then he'll hit free agency. Then we also re-signed Chad Josephat to a 1 year. I think Tapia has 3 years of team control. He does. We did not give him the 3rd year of team control at 19.6, but we signed him to 2 years, 7.9, and then $14 million. It's whatever. He's a key part of our team, and he's going to help us. Wrong page, but it's whatever. He's a key part of the team. He's going to help us, hopefully, three-peat this season. That is the goal. Then we also brought back Chad Josephat on a 1-year deal, $6.7 million, which was basically exactly what he was asking for, a little bit less in arbitration. He's back, but as you can see here, as a reliever this season, which we will get into here in a little bit. We also extended Mike Cinquemani to a 5-year extension, $75 million. It is 5 years, then 10, then 16, then 21, then 23 through his age 31 season. Now, the unfortunate thing is here in this offseason, his stuff, I believe, went down. And you could look at his scouting here. Yes, his current and potential movement dropped from 60 to 55, and just that dropped him to a 50, where he was a 60. He was a 65. How does only this drop him to a 50? It makes no sense to me, but I guess that's what happened. Hopefully he's still able to pitch very well, because he obviously just got extended and is one of our most important pitchers. Then we also, Wilson Morales is back, baby. I don't know if he's going to finish his career out here in Raleigh, but he's here through age 30-something, age 34, 25, 26, 28, 30 and a half, 32 and a half, 32 and a half. Through his age 34 season, through 2050, Wilson Morales is sticking around, the most successful pitcher as a member of the Raleigh Oaks in their franchise history. Homegrown player. They took him in the first round. He's developed, and he is just a stud. And then we also were able to trade Mike Rubin to the Atlanta Braves, another team that we have done a lot of business with over the years. So they have another former player of ours, Mike Rubin. He's going to be with them. And in return, we got the main piece was our new backup catcher, Josh Bartolomeo. Something like that. Bartolomeo is our new backup catcher. He is a captain personality class to add to the mix as well. Decent defender. Has some 60 pop, 60 avoid K, decent contact, put up a 3.5 WAR for them in Gwinnett in AAA last season, and now he's getting a chance to back up Juan Amancio here this season, and, you know, if anything ever happens to Amancio, we have a guy who we trust is not going to be truly terrible. Now, we did end up losing Tariq Bin Abdud in the Rule 5 draft to the San Francisco Giants. He just did not have any option years, so unfortunately, we just didn't feel that he was worth keeping on the 40-man to open up some more flexibility to the reliever roles. And the Giants took him in the Rule 5, and now he's a member of their team. Maybe we'll see him at some point. He obviously is going to be on our former Oaks page here, so we can keep an eye on him. And then that is basically all that happened. There was no major injuries in spring training or anything like that, but we did have the dev labs to go over. So the first set of them, you can see here, Jameer Clyte did indeed improve his stamina. It was less than 5, but it was enough to get that up to 35. It must have been like 32 or something before this happened, and he moved it up to 4 or something. So he's got 35 stamina now, and that is good enough to start. Not that we need him to start right now, but if we ever do need him to give starting innings, he can give us that possibility. And then no improvement, unfortunately, for Caffin or Yates trying to prove their power. But Nathaniel Broadhead did indeed improve his movement by 10. So Broadhead looking like a stud. This guy, just crazy. 65 home runs allowed. I mean, he might be pretty damn good. Pretty damn good for us this season. We'll get into his role here in a little bit in this 2045 campaign. Juan Canas did not improve his arsenal, unfortunately. Dorian Hensley did improve his plate discipline by quite a bit. You can see here he's starting the year in AAA, but he is actually very solidly in our plans as like a guy who gives us some depth here in a utility role coming off the bench. Then Mike Eberth, outstanding pitch movement program. He improved that, and now he's going to start the year in AA, but I mean, this guy is going to be in the big leagues this season. Look out. The only reason why he's not currently is because he's not on the 40-man roster yet, but he will be at some point this year. And then Moelvi Mullins also had a successful movement rating increase. Not as much as Eberth, but still solid enough. He also expects to be in the big leagues at some point this season. Former 18th round pick. I think Eberth was like a 13th or 14th. And Mullins starting the year in AA. Also not currently on the 40-man, but he will be at some point. And then for the next set of dev lab programs, all the defensive ones, Vince Yates, this was definitely it was center field. We tried to improve his center field. It was not successful. We tried to improve Langarisa at second base again. That was not successful. Neither was Caffin at shortstop. We'll just go through all the non-successful ones. Eggerson tried to improve his right field, not successful. And then De La Fuente tried to improve second base. That was also not successful. But Luis Rodriguez, this was left field when I picked it. For whatever reason, it changed to center, but it did improve a bit. He improved his arm by 5, the other two less than 5, and maybe he puts up a Gold Glove in left field this year. Who knows? And then outstanding improvement for Dorian Hensley, learning a new position here. You could see he already had both outfield positions learned very well, so I was like, hey, let's see if we can maybe learn first base, get a bump or something, and he did exactly that. Got a huge bump, and now he's much more viable as even like a second or third baseman for us. Makes his super utility role even that much better. As you can see here, a bunch of 10s and 5s here in the increases. And then Eric Oliar also learned left field and had a 10 boost to his range, 5 to his error, and now suddenly he's looking like an extra good utility player as well with that 60 potential in left field. You can see his ratings in the outfield now, very viable to play the corners. So Very interesting there from Alehar. And says that's what the programs were this year. Let's hop into taking a look at the pitching staffs. So, the rotation 1 to 5. Morales, Mendoza, Cincamani, Graham, and then newly acquired Josh Dickerson. Now, I should mention that one of these guys in this bullpen is at some point going to move into here because Jake Graham, back from his torn rotator cuff or whatever it was, wrecked. Highly doubt he pitches the full season. If he does, I'd be pleasantly surprised, but we have the depth to handle that. And then when it comes to the bullpen, we're doing the double-barreled stopper. Luis Carmona, the man, and then Nathaniel Broadhead is going to be right into that stopper role. I think he's got the juice to do it. We're going to let him work in that left-handed stopper role. And then behind him, in the double barrel, used more often middle relief with stopper secondaries, is Jameer Clyte and Chad Josephat. Then behind them, it's Kurt Holmes with a secondary high leverage, Dusty Powell, one of the guys we brought over from Texas, along with Flores, who came over with him in that deal, and also Orozco, who came over from the Red Sox deal, the Nazario trade. So Flores and Orozco are both in secondary mop-up roles simply because they have a little bit suspect home runs allowed in control. So, we don't want them doing high leverage stuff, obviously. So those guys are in. Honestly, we could probably just do something like avoid high leverage for those guys. Yeah, we'll probably do that and see how it goes. So that's the staff. Take a look at the lineups now. They're a little bit different compared to righty and lefty, but against righties, it's Langarisa DHing, Rodriguez, Griego, Ramirez, Amancio, Tapia, Caffin, Gusty, and Pineda. And then Alehar is going to be mixing in here at second and third quite a bit. Vizcaino is going to get some time at shortstop. Vince Yates is going to mix in the outfield quite a bit. And then Nathaniel Broadhead is like a backup outfielder / DH, getting some pinch hit opportunities as well. And then against lefties, it's going to be Vizcaino at shortstop. And still the same thing, Alehar mixing in, Yates mixing in, the lineup changes a little tiny bit just so Vizcaino drops down, but that is the gist of things. That's what the lineup looks like. You saw what the pitching looks like. We have a damn good team. I mean, the worst that goes here is Vizcaino 16th. I even think that's kind of low. I think we have a really solid team just across the board here. And we're going to be trying to three-peat here as we take a look at the preseason predictions. Yankees projected to win the Metro with the Expos with 90 wins. The Dodgers and Giants projected for 90-plus wins with the Angels right behind them. Top hitters in the American League, any Angels? Chris Aquino heading into the season with 398 home runs. You'd have to imagine he gets 400 this season. Also, he had 18 ABs last year? Oh, no. I didn't even realize this. He got hurt last year? Ooh, he fractured his ankle at the very beginning of April, missed 5 months, and then when he came back, he had a bunch of nagging injuries as well in September. Chris Aquino, not looking good for the Angels. But their pitching staff, lots of LAA here. We got they signed Linares. Luis Linares is now a Los Angeles Angel, the longtime Astro and Met, coming off a Cy Young Award, now joins the Los Angeles Angels staff, which already has the guy who finished runner-up to him in the Cy Young last year in Kurt House. Then taking a look at the National League side of things, the Chicago Cubs are projected to win the Great Lakes Division with the Reds and Guardians behind them in Ohio. In National League Southern Division, we, of course, are projected to win the division with 107 wins. That is the most I've seen. Yeah, that's the most predicted here. Royals behind us once again, then the Rangers and the Rays and the Cardinals all projected to win low 80s. Taking a look at the top hitters, we actually are getting some respect here. Luis Rodriguez is among these top hitters list, and then for top pitchers, Luis Carmona in this list as well. So they give our generational left fielder and our stopper some respect. They think that he's only going to pitch 74 innings, though, because they're stupid.